Learning sponsors, a year of learning. Sarah Alpert, memory of her husband, Harav Tzvi Lipa ben Hillel. Bella and David Adler, memory of her father, Eliel ben Yosef Cohen. Friends of Honey Haifa, Tzine Shoshana bat Chana Shoshana bat Yosef. Friends of Jack Prince, Yaakov Yitzchak ben Shmuel Dov. Friends of Sandy Davidoff, Shulamit bat Chaim Eliyahu. Friends of Judy Cohen, Yudit Reba bat Moshe. Friends of Dr. Annette Safransky, Chana bat Ephraim Fisher. Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Moshka Sprinzer bat Yosef Chaim Bechava, Chanan ben Moshe Eliezer Bechana, Pesha bat Shmuel Yitzchak Levi, Vitzipora Isser ben Yoam Moshe Bechana. Friends of Linda Katz, Linda bat Yehoshua. Leah and Harvey Greenberg, in memory of their parents, Esther bat Eliezer, Yaakov Yosef ben Abraham, Sarah Rivka bat Baruch Yehuda, Betzal ben Abraham Alevi. Friends of Rochelle Ebner, Rachel bat Moshe. Ike and Evelyn Blachor, in memory of his sister, Dr. Phyllis Pacheco, Liv Shabbat Isser. A month of learning by Ruvain and Susan Podolsky, in memory of his mother, Fadel bat Shraga Feivel. Week of learning by Leila Bessler, in memory of her granddaughter, Penina Margalit bat Dov. Shirley Weinstein, in memory of her husband, Mordechai Ozer ben Yisrael Aharon. And today being the 9th of the month, correct? Right? Okay, a day of learning by B. Worden in honor of Judy Thaler's special birthday and Bob and Judy's 60th anniversary. Okay, wish them mazel tov. May the Neshamas have an aliyah, crank or feel about the Yeshiva Shem Atzlech Chob Israel. Good to Ben Shem. Oh, Rabbi Eskovitz, you're giving the shiur today the way you're dressed up.
I have this called a Ketem Torah Pass on my shirt, and this covers it.
That's a Mets top. Color of the New York Mets is blue and orange.
Thank you. I didn't know that. Things I don't know. Things you don't know either.
Still waiting for my new glasses. Still waiting. Okay, gentlemen, we are on Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph, top of the Amud. Okay, and I will try to do better since I brought a magnifying glass with me today. Okay, Dinim Amanot B'Shlosha, says the Gemara. Okay, the Mishnah starts us off by discussing loans, theft, bodily injury, monetary damages. All of those are covered in the topic of Dinei Mamonot. Bishlosha, with three. The Gemara is going to have a problem here with the word three, whether we're talking about three courts or three people. Okay, three judges. Okay, continuing. Ze borei lo echad, one litigant chooses one. Okay, one. That's all it says. We don't know if it's still court. Okay, that's Rashi. We didn't jump to Rashi yet. I want to wait till we get to later down in the Gemara, please. Okay, Ze borei lo echad. One chooses one. V'ze borei lo echad, and one chooses one. Okay, that's why it's a problem, and that's what the Gemara is going to explore. Okay, Ushnehem, and the two of them, Bororin lahem od echad, and the two of them choose another one, Divrei Rabbi Meir. That's the view of Rabbi Meir. V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, by the following, Shnei dayanim bororin lahen od echad, that the two judges choose the third. Okay, now, it would seem, therefore, to emphasize this question in the Gemara, okay, as to, are we talking about courts or are we talking about individual judges? Okay, because the question then becomes, when the two judges, according to the Chachamim, if they choose the third judge, is that without the knowledge of the litigants or without the approval of the litigants? Okay. So what happens? We now go on to another aspect of the procedure with a Beit Din. Zeh posel daino shel zeh, this litigant can nullify, okay, the one judge of the other one, v'zeh posel daino shel zeh, and this one can invalidate the other judge of the other one. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Again, that's the view of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim omrim, but the sages say ematai. Okay, when is it possible to disqualify? Bisman shemevi alehen raya shehen krovin o psulin. At the time when they are able to bring some sort of proof that the judges are either relatives or they are invalid. And by invalid, we mean generally invalid because of some other reason. And the Gemara is going to touch on that as well. Okay? Aval im hayuk sherim, but if they are valid, o mumchim, or if they are experts, okay? Mipi beitin eno, okay? If they're valid experts according to the court, eno yechol leposlan, then the litigants cannot disqualify. Okay? Going on then, ze posel edav shel ze, this litigant can disqualify the witnesses of the other litigant, v'ze posel edav shel ze, and this one can disqualify the witnesses of the other litigant. Divrei Rabbi Meir, again the view of Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim omrim, but the sages say, ematai, when is that possible? Bizman shemevi alehen ra'aya shehen krovin o psulin, at a time when they can bring some sort of proof that they are either relatives or that, again, they fall under the category of some inappropriate behavior like gambling or having done some sort of activity that's not appropriate, so on and so forth. Okay? Aval, but, says the Gemara, again, according to the Chachamim, im hayuk sherin, if they are valid, okay, no, they are not able to disqualify. Okay, anyone want to comment on an aspect of the Mishnah before we go on? What? Okay. All right, we'll see. Gemara is going to have to go into.
Witness, a witness to an act, a witness to
Ah,
transaction.
that's why we have Edim Zomamim, the situation. So we're going to see the Gemara is going to clarify. We need to clarify that. Heshi is going to need to clarify that too. What is the machloket between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim? Is it only in one area? Is it in more than one area? Right? Okay. Anybody else want to comment? Okay. Let's go on. Gemara. Mai, what do we mean when we say, asks the Gemara, Zeborer lo echad, v'zeborer lo echad? What are we saying here? We're choosing three courts. Okay, this one chooses three, and this one chooses three. That gives you six. Okay, with a total of 9 judges. Okay, all right. Okay, because if they choose a third, that means a court. If they're choosing a court, it means 3, 3, and 3. So that would give you 9 judges. Or are we talking about specific choosing judges, and therefore the case is 3 judges? Okay, is that what we're discussing? Asks the Gemara. Bitlat sagi, says the Gemara. No, with 3 individual judges, it's sufficient. Hachi kama. This is what we mean. Okay, namely the follows. Kashez zeborer lo. Okay, right. Kashez zeborer lo beit din echad. That if we were to say that this one chooses one court. Okay, I choose the court in Boca, for example. V'zeborer lo beit din ached. And this one chooses a court. The other chooses the court in Del Rey. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, you're right, but we can't. We've got to wait till we get to that in the Gemara. Okay, shnehen borerin lahen od echad, and if they were to choose a third court, namely, let's say the one. Okay, v'afilu lavet matzim ma'akev. Does this mean then that the borrower can put these delays okay, and problems. Va'amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, lo shanu ela malveh. No, this was only talk in terms of the lender. Aval loveh, but in regards to the borrower, kofino to v'dan be'iro. Okay, we force him to come to the city, to the court in his city, the judge in his city. So as Michael was suggesting, we're not talking about courts in different towns. We're talking the possibility that there are multiple courts in the same town. Okay, and I choose to go to a court here in one side of Boca, and Zev chooses a court in another side of Boca. Okay, what's the situation? Okay, Michael, you want to share a comment? Okay, all right, Be'iro. Okay, Kida'amar Rabbi Yochanan, as was said by Rabbi Yochanan. And what is Rabbi Yochanan explaining it? Multiple courts in the same community? Ba'archaot shebesuria shanu. They taught this about the secular Jewish courts, okay, that were not familiar with halacha, okay, and people simply appointed them or accepted their authority, okay, in Syria, okay. That's what we're talking about, says Rabbi Yochanan. Hachanami, here too, ba'archaot shebesuria shanu. Here too, we're talking about these kinds of secular courts, so they're Jews, but they do not. That's what I found in the.
Rashi says that Rashi implies they're not Jewish courts because Rashi says that the court, the arkos, are not familiar with halacha
Right.
and will rule according to
To the
Persian
secular
law.
Persian.
So
Okay.
it should be a non.
Well, that's Rashi's pshat. True. I'm not challenging Rashi here, okay, but I am suggesting that there was another pshat as well. Okay. Certainly, archaot was the term used, okay, for the non-Jewish courts. Okay, and that's particularly Rashi's view. However, there was another pshat that also said from that I found in Art Scroll. Okay.
Are you saying there was such a thing as a Jewish secular court?
Yes. That the people accepted the decision of a court. Okay, there that was composed of Jews. Okay, but they did not know to paskin determine according to Jewish law. Okay?
Common sense.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's go on. All right. Shanu aval mumchim lo. Hachanami, here too, we're talking about Jewish law. We said that. Okay. Okay. But if there's experts, no. Rav Papa Amar, says Rav Papa. Afilu tema mumchim. Rav Papa saying, even if they're experts, Kagon Beidina the Rav Huna or the Rav Chista. Okay, as we see the possibility of the court situation with Rav Huna and Rav Chista, where they were both. Okay. Okay. In where Rav Huna's court and Rav Chista's court were both in the same city. Okay. De Ka'amarle, as in that kind of a case. Mi ka matrachna lach. Okay. Is it possible that we say that in that situation you're going to force somebody to go to a court in another city? Is that the issue? It's none. But the bright Mishnah teaches as follows. V'chachamim omrim. But the sages say, Shnei dayanim borurin lehen od echad. That according to the chachamim, the two judges choose a third judge. Ve'isa gadatach. And if you're thinking k'da'amrin and beit din, and if you were talking about the choice of not individual judges, but of courts, right? Beit din batar the pasle laho. Okay, is it possible that one beit din would nullify the rule of other Beit Din, Azlu ubararu laho Beidina acharine, that they're going to go and clarify or challenge, okay, another court. Va'od, and furthermore, asks the Gemara, Mai ze borer lo echad. What do we mean when we say one clarifies or chooses another one? V'ze borer lo echad. And this one chooses another one.
I think you're mistranslating. It, it seems to me that that it's a bit. How can a court that was disqualified have the ability to appoint a different court? Once they're disqualified, they're not qualified. So to have a havamina that the court that's rejected by one litigant has the ability to appoint yet another court is in the terms from the Gemara's perspective of it. I believe
That's also a good shot. Okay? All right. Va'od, and furthermore, Mai ze borer lo echad v'ze borer lo echad. What do we mean? Ela hachi kama. This is what we're saying. K'sheze borer lo dayan echad. That when this litigant chooses one judge, v'ze borer lo dayan echad, and this litigant chooses one judge, shnehen borerim lehen od echad, that then they two of them then choose a third. Okay? All right. So the Gemara then asks, Mai shana da'avde hachi. Why do they sort of do it in this process? Okay. Amrei b'ma'arava, and they say in the west, right, in Eretz Israel, Mishmei de Rabbi Zera, in the name of Rabbi Zera, mitoch shezeh borer lo dayan echad, because it's such that one litigant chooses one judge. Okay, v'zeh borer lo dayan echad, and one litigant chooses one. Ushnehen borerim lehen od echad, and the two of them choose one another, right? Yatsa hadin la'amito. Okay, therefore the case is going to come out appropriately. Okay? Now we come back now to try to clarify a little bit more this machloket between Rabbi Meir and the Chacham.
We are talking about individual judges as opposed to courts.
Exactly. That's the answer to the point. Okay? So therefore, that's why it supports the example that the Gemara said earlier to us, Bishlosha Sag. Okay, that it's with three individual judges. V'chachamim omri, but and the sages say, etc. Okay, Nema, let us say, the Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Kamiflage, that what they're arguing about is what Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav. Is that what they're arguing about? And now the Gemara is going to tell us what he said. The Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. He says as follows: Ein ha'edim chotmim al hashtar, that witnesses do not sign on a document. Ela imkein yodein mi chotem imahen, unless they know who else is signing along with them. Rabbi Meir, okay. Hold on one second, okay. Go ahead. I want to hear what you'd like to say.
Because even if 50 people sign, so that it would have a pursuit, if any one witness is considered invalid or demonstrated to be invalid, then the whole thing is thrown out. That's the meaning of the pasuk 2 or 3, because that the Gemara, if 2, how come 3? Because if any one, no matter how numerous the witnesses are, if any one is impeached or is a relative or is a gambler or whatever, then nobody is valid. So you would be embarrassed that you're a witness on a star and they throw you out, and it wouldn't know is it you or the other guy. So if you know who the other witnesses are, you can make a determination for yourself, am I willing to put myself out there and sign?
Okay,
That's what that.
right. Well, we're going to see the Gemara is going to refer to that in a few more lines. Okay, but that's the basic concept behind the question of knowing.
And just parenthetically, what the Gemara is doing here is it's making a hekesh between witnesses.
Well, we're going to get to that in just a second. Let's try not to jump too far ahead till, okay? Let's try not to jump ahead till we get to that part of the Gemara, okay? That's all I'm asking. Ela im kain yodimi chotem imahem. Rabbi Meir, litle de Rav Yehuda Amarav. Does this mean that Rabbi Meir does not hold by that concept, okay, of acknowledging or knowing? The Rabbanan itlaho de Rav Yehuda Amarav, and the rabbis do acknowledge and accept that view. Amar, right? No, that's not the case, says the Gemara. The Kuli Alma itlaho de Rav Yehuda Amarav. No, everybody accepts that perspective. Okay, Vidat Dayanim. Okay, and according to the awareness, knowledge of the judges, Kuli Alma lo plige de ba'inan. That everyone agrees that is necessary. That's required. That you have to be aware of who else you're signing along with. And we're going to see in a moment more than just that. Ki plige. Where are they arguing? Dat ba'alei dayanim. Really regarding the acknowledgement, the awareness about this judge. Okay? Rabbi Meir Savar Dat ba'alei dinin nami ba'inan. That the judges themselves, okay, have to acknowledge, okay, litigants, right? In this case, right? Rabbanan savrei dat adayanim ba'inan dat ba'alei dayanim, right? V'dat ba'alei dayanim lo ba'inan. No, says the Gemara, the rabbis are of the opinion that it's the acknowledgement of the judges that's needed, but regarding the third person, okay, but not necessarily the consent of the litigant. Okay? Gufa. Let's go on back to what we had before, says the Gemara. We said Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Okay, Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. Ein ha'idim chotmim al hashtar v'chulei. Okay, already acknowledging what Michael explained to us, right? However, the Mishnah Gemara goes on. Tanya nami hachi, and we have a braita that teaches kach hayu nikiei hadar. So the pure-minded individuals that lived in Jerusalem, okay, like Chaim Reis here, okay, all right, okay, lo hayu chotmin, they would not sign al hashtar, ela im ken yodin mi chotem imahem. They would not sign except if they knew who else was signing. Not only that, but going on, we see further. V'lo hayu yoshvin badin, ela im ken yodin mi yoshev imahem. So we now make the hekesh, as Michael was alluding to a little bit too early, that here we're making that connection also from the Edim to the Dayanim. Okay? That's the case as well, right? V'lo hayu nichnasim b'su'udah. Okay, ela im kain yod'in mi me'sevim. That's why we always want to know when you go to a big dinner who you're sitting with. All right, in the dinner you got to write up who's going to be on your table.
There's a story that's told about the Saparu.
Yeah,
After he went to Shemaiah,
yeah.
he was told, okay, you're invited to a big Suda. He says, who's going to be there? The Rabbani Shalom and Elio and Navi and everybody said, very good. What are they serving? He says, they're serving the Shor Habor.
Yeah.
He says, that's okay, I'll have fish.
Uh-huh.
Because he doesn't trust God's
Right, right. Okay, so the Gemara picks up. Kol kamine de pasil daine. Okay, can a litigant really disqualify the judges arbitrarily? If that's what we're asking. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, coming back then to the old other kinds of courts. Ba'archaot shebesuria shanu. That's what we were talking about. These other courts. Aval mumchim lo. But regards to experts, no. Ha midikatani sefa. And since the way it's taught at the end, right? V'chachamim omrim, and the sages say, Ematai bizman shemevi raya shehin krovin psulin. At the time that they bring proof that they're either relatives or disqualified in some way. Aval im hayu ksherin or mumchin. Okay, if they're either ksherim and mumchin, as experts, mipi beit din, qualified by a beit din, eino yechol poslan, is not able to disqualify them. Miklal the Rabbi Meir, mumchim nami kama. This would seem to me to apply, okay, that Rabbi Meir could even say the litigants could disqualify experts. Okay? Kama. This is what we mean to say. Aval im hayu ksherin, but if they're valid, ne'esu kimumchim, they are considered like experts, right? Mipi beit din, and therefore ve'eno yechol poslan, and are not able to qualify them.
This goes back to something we learned earlier, that in the Torah only one dayan is enough, but he might be the Torah uses the word a street corner hanger outer. So if you have three, then you increase to a high likelihood that at least one knows what to do. So over here, if the guy is kosher, meaning he doesn't have any pagam to avoid to be prohibited to be a witness, then according to you, even Reb Meir would acknowledge you can't kick him off the court. It's only if you can prove that he is disqualified in general or a relative of the litigant.
Okay. The Gemara, however, is going to continue here and try, it's not satisfied with this particular answer. Okay, gentlemen, one question. Okay. Okay. All right. So, but the Gemara, as good as Michael's explanation was, the Gemara, however, is not satisfied with that simple statement and wants to continue to challenge Rabbi Meir's view of when does he permit the litigants to disqualify. So let's go on.
Talking about halachic expert. That's what they refer.
Tashma, listen to the following Braita, says the Gemara. Amrula le Rabbi Meir. The rabbi said to Rabbi Meir, Lo kol himenu sheposel dayan shemumchel rabim. Okay, again, can we say that the litigant disqualifies somebody who might be considered an expert judge by the majority? Ema, I would say the following. Lo kol himenu sheposel. No, that's not the case. Dayan shehimchuhu rabim alehem, a judge that the community or the group considered an expert and accepted upon themselves. Okay, so that's the case. If the people consider him an expert and they accept his authority, that's something. Okay, so maybe there again, Rabbi Meir, is he saying even in that situation, the litigant could disqualify or not? Okay, Tanya Nami Hachi. And again, another Braita teaches as follows. Le'olam posel, v'holech ad she'yikabel alav beit din shemumche l'rabim. Okay, that Braita seems to support Divrei Rabbi Meir. That seems to support Rabbi Meir, that even an expert could be challenged, unless, again, question of acceptance by the general community. Okay, regarding their, right, so what happens? Vaha, edim kimumchin dami. But don't we say that regarding their testimony, the witnesses are like experts? Va'amre Rabbi Meir, ze posel edav shel zeh. But it's Rabbi Meir who says, this one can disqualify the witnesses of this one. V'zeh posel edav shel zeh. And this one can disqualify the witnesses of this one. Ha! On this, itmar alav, the following was said about it. Amar Reish Lakish by Reish Lakish. Okay. Peh Kadosh Yomar Davar Zeh. Can you even say that Rabbi Meir is going to say something so radical, so to speak? Okay, there's that. Tani Edu. Okay, we say there the name is, the word aid is considered in plural. Edo lemai. Don't we need it to mean his witness? We're not talking about more than one set of witnesses. We're talking about just one set of witnesses, and they disqualify one. Ilem mamon. If you're going to say that we're dealing with a monetary case, okay, Rahmana Pasle. Okay, then then you don't have enough, right? With one. Michael, did you want to make a
It's
thought?
not a set, it's an individual.
Right, that you have, if you have one, you have one set of
The
witnesses.
two
About
two
one of them is considered not valid.
No, what we're talking about here is if the two litigants before the proceedings sign off on, we will accept one witness as if, and will allow the court to rule based on one witness. That, in other words, you and I have a dispute.
No.
And we say, well, Moshe can resolve
That comes
it in the court
afterwards.
with only one witness.
That comes afterwards, right? Okay, that
But because the word
right. Well, that's the point. Is if you have two witnesses and one is invalid, they will have to be willing to agree,
then they
as you
can't,
said.
it has to be before anybody comes in.
That's the question. Okay? Rahmana Pasle. The Torah is going to nullify.
So only one witness.
Right?
Is no.
Ela Shavua, if it's a question of a swearing an oath, Hemune, Meheman, Kibetre, then we may say that one is considered trustworthy like two. La'olam lemamon. No, we're talking about clearly money here. Lo tzricha, no, it's not the case. Otherwise, the kable ale kibetre. But they are willing, as Michael suggests, in advance to accept one as the equal to two. Okay? Okay? My kamashmalan. So what does it teach us? Demate hadarbe. Okay, we're talking about a situation if they're willing to recount, to take it back. Tanina has taught again a Braita. Amar lo ne'aman alai abba. If one says, okay, your father will, my father, it will be trustworthy. V'ne'aman alai avicha. Or he says, your father will be considered trustworthy. Ne'amanim al alai. Okay, Shlosha Ro'e Bakar, or he says three sheep herders, cattle herders, okay, are trustworthy. Okay, Rabbi Meir Omer Yechol Lachzor Bo. According to Rabbi Meir, he can recant on that agreement. V'chachamim Omrim Eino Yechol Lachzor Bo. But the sages say he cannot recant on that agreement. Going on to the top of the next Amud, right? Okay, so what happens? Okay. Va'amar Rav Dimi, says Rav Dimi, Berei de Rav Nachman, the son of Rav Nachman, Berei de Rav Yosef, the son of Rav Yosef. The Kagon de Kable Ale Bechad. It's a situation where they have initially accepted a decision by one. Okay, that's, well, we don't see that. Shricha, that's where we are talking about. The itana abba ava avicha, because if you were teaching in the Braita that you're talking about my father or your father, baha, in this case, ka'amre rabbanan delo matze hadarbe. In this case, we would say that the rabbis say you cannot recant that acceptance, mishum da abba va'avich, hazo la'alma, in general. Aval chad kebetre, but when you accept the concept that one testimony would be sufficient and equivalent to two. The Alma in general, lo chaze. We don't see that. That's not the case. Ema, and therefore I would say, module the Rabbi Meir. Maybe then they would acknowledge the view of Rabbi Meir. Okay? Ve'iyashma'inen, baha. And if we say in this particular case, where the litigant in another, okay, is a different situation, baha, in this case, ka'amar Rabbi Meir. That's where Rabbi Meir is talking and says we can recant. Aval bahahi, in our situation, ema modula hola rabbanan, that maybe Rabbi Meir would acknowledge the view of the rabbis that you can't recant. Tzricha, and therefore that's why we needed to have the both Mishnayot presented him. Okay. All right, now we go on. Ha midikatani, and here, since it was taught Reisha, okay, at the outset, they know v'seifa edav, that it talked about the judges, and then later in regards to the witnesses. Alma, therefore, dafka katani, that here we're talking specifically this situation. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Okay, what do we have here? Says Rabbi Elazar, beba hu ve'acher. We're talking about a situation where the litigant and another person, okay, come to invalidate the other litigant's witness. Okay? Leposlan, to invalidate them. Kol kamine, is that in his power, really? In regards to that kind of a situation, no geya be'eduto. Okay? Doesn't that have, he's no geya bedavar, the other litigant, if he comes to try with another person to knock out the witness. Amar Rav Acha, says Rav Acha, Berei de Rav Ika, the son of Rav Ika, Kagon shekara alav ar. We're talking about a situation where there is a flaw, okay, of some kind in the right. Ar demai. What kind of a flaw are we talking about? Ilema ar de gazlanuta. If we're talking about there's a flaw because there's a reputation of this fellow as a robber, a thief. Okay, kol kamine, is that in power? Okay, no geya be'edu tohu. Again, isn't that dealing? No, he's no geya bedavar. Isn't that still problematic in his trying to disqualify? Ella are the pegam mishpacha, but rather talking about there's some flaw in his family status, family situation. Okay. Michael, did you have anything on that?
Totally clear. There's a difference.
Yeah, the Gemara is going to get
A
into that.
witness is not valid in this specific case, like it's a relative, and a witness who's generally invalid. So they're exploring the idea here. If you mean the litigant and a neutral third party say he's a relative, then you have to throw the litigant out because he's no bedavar. He doesn't want your relative testifying. But if the litigant and a neutral third party say he's a professional gambler, then that's a general disqualification, and the litigant can testify that to throw him out because he's not involved. The guy's a gambler. It's not he has no
He has no shaykhis in that claim against. Okay. All right. So I was going to simply present that a little differently and point out simply that on the one hand, if the claim against the others, witnesses or against him, is based on more solid evidence of his history, his behavior, etc., it's one thing. That's one kind of a claim. A different kind of claim is what the Gemara is now going to go into when it says there's something in regards to his family background. Okay, so what happens, says the Gemara? Okay, says here. Right. Rabbi Meir Zavar, what's Rabbi Meir's feeling, understanding here? Hani amishpacha kamisade ve'ihu memele kapsil. Okay, according to Rabbi Meir, he said, since there is a flaw, okay, in regards to his family status, okay, his testimony is not going to be acceptable, and therefore he can be disqualified. Right, right. V'Rabbanan savrei, but the rabbis hold sof nogea be'edu tohu. No, that even in that situation, okay, the litigant still has a vested interest, so to speak, in the situation, and therefore his argument, his statement is not acceptable. Right. Ki ata Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, okay, machloket b'shtei kitei idei. Maybe this whole argument is in regards to two sets of witnesses. Okay? So, in other words, what is happening? You knock out one set because of a disqualification, and then you have come to the second set of witnesses. Are they going to be valid or not? The Rabbi Meir Savar, that Rabbi Meir is of the opinion, Tzrich levarer, that you have to substantiate. The Rabbanan Savrei Eino Tzarich, that you don't have to levarer, that you don't have to substantiate. Aval bekat echat, but with regards to a single set of witnesses, right? Divrei hakol ein leposlan, one is not able to dispute. Okay? Now, Amru lefanav. So they said to him, Rabbi Ami v'Rabbi Asi, Ein sham ela kat echad. No, in our situation, we're only talking about one set of witnesses. Mahu, right? So what are we talking? What are we dealing with here? Okay, right? Ein sham ela kat echad. Are we really talking about only one set? V'ha'amarta, but you've said aval bekat echad divrei hakol ein yichol poslan, that you've already said that in one set of witnesses he's not able to disqualify. Ela nimtzeit kat shniya krovin o psulin mahu. But rather we're saying again, what happens if it's a situation where the first set is disqualified, and now in the second set of witnesses, maybe there are relatives in the situation or some other reason. Okay? Amar lehen far heidu edim. Okay? Harishonim. No, that's a case where the earlier witnesses already gave their testimony. Ikada'am, right? And there are those who say as follows, Amar Rav Ashi, explains Rav Ashi, also the same point, Kfar he'idu edim harishonim, that the original witnesses already gave, the first set gave their testimony. So the Gemara goes on, okay? Now, with another case, another situation. Nema, let us say the following, that their argument. Beplugta the Rabban Yeshimon ben Gamliel, that the machloket between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim is similar to a machloket between Rebbe and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. That kamaflige. That's what they're arguing about. The Tanya, because we're talking about the following situation. Haba, somebody who is an occupant of property, okay, comes to a lidun, comes to a case with regards to both having a shtar and a chazaka. Okay, he has a deed and he has a chazaka that he's been there the minimum 3 years, right? Okay. Nidun b'shtar, one says we judge based on the deed. Divrei Rebbe, that's the view of Rebbe. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Nidun b'chazaka. And according to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he says, no, we make our judgment based on the chazaka.
Because he doesn't no longer require to produce it.
Okay, because the chazaka, let's say, I'm going to just rephrase what you said, I agree with you. the chazaka replaces and takes the place of having a deed because he has adequate proof, either by Adim or whatever, that he's occupied it for 3 years. Okay, so what happens? Vahavinen, and we asked about this the following: Ravinen ba bechazaka velo b'shtar. Can we really say that the chazaka replaces a deed? Okay, that's strong enough. Ela ema. Rather, I would say as follows: Af bechazaka, even with the chazaka.
In addition. to
Okay.
Shvarim.
Okay, in other words, above, beyond. Let's put it that way. The afia, beyond the fact that he has a deed. Okay, v'kaimalan. And what do we hold here? Deed plus the chazaka. All right, plus. Okay, the Batsari. So what of then? What is their argument about? Asks the Gemara. Okay, the Batsarich levarer. That way, therefore, we need to clarify, to substantiate pligate. That's what their argument. Lo aliba the Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, not based on the perspective of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Kuli ama lo pligate. Well, that's not what they're arguing about. Ki plige aliba the Rabbi, because they're arguing about the position of Rebbe. The Rabbi Meir ke Rebbe, that Rabbi Meir seems to follow the view of Rebbe. The Rabbanan Amrelach, and the rabbis would therefore answer as follows. Okay, Ad Kan Lo Ka'amar Rebbe. Rebbe didn't say that. Okay, Hatam in that case. Ela b'chazaka. Okay, based on that of the chazaka. The mikoach shtara ka'ate, because it's based on the fact that it comes with the same kind of power or authority as a document. Aval hacha, but here in our example of the machloket between Rebbe and the Chachamim, the Hani Edim, that regarding these witnesses, lav mikoach Edim achrine ka'atu, that they don't come with the same authority or power as the other witnesses came. Afilu Rebbe, even Rebbe Modeh would even acknowledge the ein tzarich levarer, that there is no reason to need to substantiate. And we're going to stop right there. Okay? Magnifying glass, really.
What time is the lunch?
12:15. Okay.